In this video, I'm going to tell two quick stories about how I almost got into two fights at concerts I've been to. So I've been to thousands of concerts in my life, and whenever you have a bunch of Neanderthals running around with alcohol in them, there's bound to be trouble. Testosterone and alcohol is a toxic combination. Then throw in a whole group of Australian rugby players who are drunk into the mix, and it gets way worse. I go to concerts to escape the real world and enjoy the music. I'm always the first one to apologize if I bump into someone or step on someone's foot. I'm never looking for trouble, especially when there's a chance that I could be thrown out of the venue before the show even starts and missing the band that I paid to see. That just doesn't make sense. Just for the record, I've never been in a fight, and I'm actually scared of what would happen if I was winning. I wonder how much self-control I would have. So I'm 5'10" and weigh 225 pounds, and that combined with tattoos all over my body, people usually leave me alone at concerts, which is good. That's the way I like it. I was bullied a lot when I was a kid, so when I see people getting bullied, that is a trigger for me. Okay, the first story took place in 2016 in San Francisco at the Regency Ballroom. I was there to see Steel Panther, so I took the hour-and-a-half drive to get to San Francisco, and I usually like to get to venues early so I can get as close to the stage as possible, and that's what I did that day. It was a general admission show, and I suffered through the opening band, but I wanted to see my Panther. Here's the shocker. I was in a good spot. There was only one person in front of me between the stage, and I was standing right in front of where Russ Parrish, their guitar player, or Satchel as he's known, usually plays. Just a side note, Russ Parrish was in a band with Rob Halford and Scott Travis called Fight. In case you didn't know, really awesome band. But I wear this shirt every time I see Steel Panther because I want Satchel to acknowledge it. One of these days he's going to. So everything was going great. Everyone was pleasant around me. There were no problems, and they were setting up for Steel Panther to come on. You know, the roadies were on the stage, and then things changed. All of a sudden, a huge group of guys dressed in stereotypical 80s band clothes came barreling through the crowd, trying to get in front of me, and that wasn't going to happen. I earned my spot. So there were about 7 or 8 of them, and they all had Australian accents, and they were clearly very drunk. They had on spandex pants, huge wigs, ripped shirts, headbands, wristbands. So I stood my ground, and they ended up being on the right-hand side of where I was standing. You know, I mean, they were there for a good time, I could tell, and so was I. So, you know, I just said, good for you, man. You go do your thing. So they started bullying people and spilling beer all over the floor, but I did my best to ignore them. The guy I ended up having a problem with, he tried to get to the rail right in front of the stage by moving this shorter guy who had been there just as long as I was, and he was trying to physically move him. And the guy who was there originally, he was like, F off, man. I've been here way longer than you. And the Australian guy, he like grabbed his back and it's like, you know what? If you F with me, you're going to have to fight my whole team. I was clenching my jaw and my fists, and I was almost shaking, but I tried to remain calm. I wanted to tell the Australian guy that he wasn't going to fight that guy, and if everyone joined in, everyone around me was going to join in. and fight them, but I didn't. The lights went out, the crowd started cheering, Steel Panther was coming on stage. So after about 2 songs, the Australian guy, he tried moshing right into me, and he had his arms over my head, and his stupid little wristband had strings hanging from it, and they were getting in my face. So I had had enough. I snapped. I turned around, I drew his arms away from my face, I looked him right in the eye, and I said, F off. And instead of trying to fight me or calling his stupid hooligan friends over, all he did was say, calm down, goatee, Mr. Goatee. I won't even try to do an Australian accent, but... And, yeah, he could see I was serious, and he cowered away, and he moved a couple people away from me, and that was it. And eventually, all of those guys got kicked out for acting stupid in the pit. The second time I almost got in a fight was in Auburn, Washington. I went to a music festival, and it had bands like Against Me and Unwritten Law, but The Offspring were the headliners. And I remember I got there at around 1:30, and I got right to the center, right in front of the stage. And I didn't leave there until 11 o'clock or so when the concert was finally over. So people would come and people would go next to me, you know, depending on what band was playing, and there were no problems for the longest time, except for the occasional 300-pound crowd surfer would land on my head. But other than that, I was amazed by how little problems there were. After a while, this little dude and his girlfriend stood right next to me for about an hour, you know, and they were just enjoying the music. And all of a sudden, this guy from the back, he forced his way to the rail right next to them, and he was trying to push the little guy out of the way so he'd have more room, and that was forcing it so his girlfriend was being crushed, and this little guy was trying with everything he had to keep the guy away from him. So after seeing that, I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed the guy, the intruder guy, and I physically forced him away from the rail and pushed him back and told him to F off too. He reached for me and I grabbed his arm, and I realized how strong he actually was. Way stronger than I thought, but I didn't care. I mean, I wanted him out of there. And he told me to F off too, and I was like, ooh, what are you gonna do about it? He's like, I'm gonna kick your ass, that's what I'm gonna do. And I was like, come on! And I crouched down a little and I was ready to go, but security showed up at that time, and a couple people from behind me, you know, they put me in a bear hug and forced me back, and people grabbed him and made him leave. And for the rest of the concert, I was just waiting for him to sneak up behind me and try to bash me in the head or something. He never did. I never saw him again. Even in the parking lot afterwards, I was looking around for him, but there were too many people. So the moral of this video is, if you go to concerts, please, by all means, have a good time, but just be aware of the people around you, and don't be a you-know-what. Well, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.